Hello, it's great to have you here with us at SustainAbility Now Podcast. And just like we explained before now, talking about why sustainability now, why should we focus on issues about sustainability? Is it really about a buzzword, or does it really matter? What are the intention for having to start a podcast as this? And that's what we're going to be addressing in this very episode, trying to look at why we say sustainability now and why it's important, looking at issues around climate change and human actions. So from my perspective, always when I try to look at sustainability, I see sustainability as a design and human problem, right? Design in the sense that we can actually build a system where resources are working for our good rather than against us, right? And as well as looking at how we're interacting with our environment, being that we are living within an ecosystem within the environment, and how nature works is you feed what feeds you, else it dies, right? So all of that is why I see sustainability as a design problem. Then the human problem aspect is the fact that what we are doing, right, is impacting us. We're seeing the effects, we're seeing it happen, but for some reasons, it's supposed to be easy, right? Stop this, and it's just supposed to work. But then we're not seeing that come to fruition. We're not seeing that happen over the years. So all of these have been matters and issues of concern, right? And I think as we delve further, I'm just going to share even more experiences, but I would love to hear really from your perspective. What do you think about sustainability and why sustainability now?
Sustainability and sustainability now, the name of what we're talking about is because prior to now, we have acted like everything in the environment is not our business, right? We have acted like, the environment is dependent on human beings. We can do whatever we want to do and get away with it. But that is not the case. That is not the case. The case is we depend on the environment. The environment will do fine without the input of human beings. So in a system where the relationship is tilted to the other end, we should act in a way that our actions complement the environment. But that is not what we're doing. What we've been doing is we go, we harvest, we don't care what happens, and we continue the process because we've been told the land is fertile. We've been told, if you go here, there's an abundant supply of resources. We operate with an unlimited mentality, which is not the case. And these actions have brought about depletion. It has brought about exhaustion. It has brought about extinction. We have cases where animals are extinct. We have cases where species are no more found where they used to be. And we ask ourselves, how did this come into being? How it came to being is sustainability was not factored when human beings started producing, where we started manufacturing. And if it wasn't the center stage. It wasn't the primary focus. Every other thing was not built around sustainability. Because if that was the case, afforestation will not be a problem. Deforestation will not be a problem. Everything around forest, planting, farming, it would have been settled. The solution that we're trying to prefer now would have been from start, right? So basically, what humans or what we did is we had a system, we understood what we wanted to do. We ran forward. And then we saw, there's a roadblock. How do we maneuver it? Now we're trying to find a way around it. Whereas we were supposed to project, understand how that the environment is in as much as we say is an infinite resource, it's actually finite if it's not planned. If the use is not planned, it is finite because it will finish if it's not replenished. Let me delve a bit. The environment functions in such a way that it's like an ecosystem. It's an interdependent relationship. Yeah. Nothing is idle. Nothing is independent of each other. We humans, for example, we live, we die. Yeah. When we die, our body, the flesh nourishes the environment, right? And plants as well. Plants live, decay, live, decay, live, decay. That cycle, it's an independent relationship. There is no new material on earth. Everything has been there. Everything is connected and everything is linked. And how human interactions have altered this is because when we act, when we produce, when we put in systems in place, our systems are open-ended. They are not closed. It takes me back to water cycle, life cycle, all the cycles that we have in the environment, in sciences. It's a cycle for a reason. It's a cycle because they are interconnected, is not independent. And where the problems stemmed from was when things became independent rather, and they became non-interconnected. They were isolated. Production became isolated. Producers were not concerned with the aftermath of what they produce. When you're constructing, they don't consider how the houses they are constructing affect the environment. All the landlord cares about is, I want a house, this is how I want it, and that's on, period.
That's a lot shared, right? I think there's a line I got there now that really makes sense and is striking, right? If it will finish, if it does not replenish, right? So, and that makes really like a whole lot of sense, having to see how for man, right, what we're supposed to do is control. Right, that process of control, trying to ensure that the resources we have the time they take the time they're supposed to use to replenish. You can't force nature, right? How nature functions. So that aspect of replenish really works. Then I love also the aspect where you highlighted sustainability being more of a proactive action rather than a reactive action. I think from the beginning, it wasn't factored into design process, but now we're trying to factor that in, even with all of the efforts and resistance. But the idea is the fact that sustainability should come first, right? Sustainability thinking should be at the forefront of any design or any project whatsoever, and not reactive, an aftermath of something happening. So I think that's a direction that we need to tilt towards and think around, right? But I would love to also hear your thoughts around where we are now. We've seen the problem, right? We're already living in that problem. We're living in the realities of the problems we created ourselves as humans. How do we begin to navigate, trying to live or try to solve this problem? Because the issues about the environment, climate change, pollution, they are more of issues of behavioral changes. They are mindsets that have been built over years, right? So trying to correct or tell someone what you've been doing is a wrong pathway, can you do it this way, becomes most of the complexities we see within trying to tackle this issue. So where we at now, right, seeing where we're coming from, right, to our current position, what do you think? How do you think we should navigate the paths going forward?
How we should navigate the path going forward is through knowledge. You can't change a thing you know nothing about. You can't make a difference in an aspect if you're not knowledgeable about it. If you don't know how your actions directly influences or directly affect that particular thing, you'll be ignorant. You won't be able to take the necessary actions. You won't be able to take the necessary steps. And that's why we are doing this. We need to bridge the knowledge gap. We need to bridge the knowledge gap in environmental matters. Because you relate with someone today and you're asking them, oh, do you know the effect of what you're doing today? And you're like, concern me now. Me, I just want to make my daily bread and move on. Everybody is acting like it is none of their business. In actual reality, it is everybody's business. I like to paint this analogy so that I will use it to drive my point home. Imagine a scenario where in your house, everything is put together. Your lights, the cleanliness, the flowers, the pots. Your house is pristine. It looks like something that just came out of Pinterest. I know, right? But then the way to your house looks like a bush. It is scattered. Everything is everywhere. It's not in place. It's disgusting. It's gross. Let me use those extreme words. And then the whole experience of coming to your house is not pleasant. Even if I get to your house and your house is put together, I will just be lamenting, the road to your house is bad. Oh, I didn't enjoy it. See my clothes is dirty. This one, that one, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's what happens when sometimes you take care of your spaces and everyone else is not taking care of that. If I know about the environment and I do everything I should to make sure that I act accordingly as an environmental person, what about the people around me? That is why we are here, to ensure that it's a collective effort. I take care of my house, you take care of your house, he takes care of his house. And at the end of the day, the whole community is in place. And then there is a meeting point. I know that, where mine stops is where yours starts. Yeah. And then we also find how to manage that. So it starts from being knowledgeable, right? We'll talk about it. We explain the terms. We explain the importance. We explain the fundamentals, how everything relates with one another, and how your part is important, how you should play your part. And it will in turn become what we desire, become the sustainable environment, sustainable living, sustainable space that we want to see everywhere.
Amazing, great. So bringing it back again to the aspect of everyone being involved, and we see this being already a global conversation, right? No debates about that. And the reason why it's a global conversation, it's because the action of someone else imparts even another, not just the person who is even taking the action. That's the sad reality of it. Someone else might take actions and the adverse effect is imparting someone else, right? And sometimes the impact is so massive to the extent that I can take an action here in Nigeria and it's impacting people outside of Africa, right? So it's a transboundary problem, actually. And that's the reason we're seeing the aspect of knowledge first being the very first foundation towards having to deal with this. Because if everyone is knowledgeable, get to understand the impact of what they're doing, the lifestyle, how it impacts them, how it impacts those around them, how it impacts future generations, right? We would begin to take it even more seriously, knowing that the earth houses us, and therefore we should do everything within our power to provide for it. It's just a simple cycle. You have to feed what feeds you. If you're not feeding whatever is feeding you, someday it's going to die off. Just like she said, it will finish. And that's not the extent to which we want to get to. And that's the reason we see conversations like this as a priority, and kickstarting that conversation with Sustainability Now podcast. So lastly, I would like you to maybe delve into the aspect of this, having to be an issue of global concern. Where is, I would like to say, right, I know we're in Nigeria, and we definitely, obviously, live in Africa, right? But I always want to understand, where is Africa in this situation or in this conversation? Because what we're seeing is Africa is on the disadvantaged end, in the sense that we're vulnerable with all of the conversation, talking about flooding, talking about drought, food insecurity, everything. We're suffering more, obviously, with all of the recent happenings. So I want to hear your thoughts about what is in it for Africa in this conversation. What do you think Africa and Africans should really focus on at this point in matters talking about sustainability?
Well, for Africa, for Nigeria, the first step honestly, is to understand where we are. We need to understand where we are, the depth of our actions, and the impact of all that we have done thus far. It is until then you can begin to design structures, policies, anything that can take us from where we are to where we want to be. I made an observation, and I discovered that where we are right now is where the first world countries were a few years ago. They've learned from some of the mistakes they made, and now they are beginning to take necessary steps to retract their steps. But unfortunately, from what I observed, where we are in Nigeria is where those countries were, and we are still going exactly in that trajectory. We're not learning from their mistakes, implementing it, learning, recovering, and being on the right track, but we are falling right into the same ditch they fell into, and then we want to pick up from there. It's not healthy. We're not being smart. It doesn't position us as being proactive or thoughtful in our designs, in our thinking, even in our growth as a country. We need to look inwards, see where we truly want to be, and how our actions will take us there. Right? How our actions will take us there. Because it has to be holistic. It can't just be, oh, this is what we see in movies. Oh, this is what we see online. Why? Why is what where? We need to question a lot of things, and we need to critically analyze how what we are doing will impact. We shouldn't just build blindly. I think what Africa has done is build blindly thus far. We see it in movies, we want it. There is no proper EIA, there is no proper documentation, there is no proper analysis, there is no proper research on the impact of what we are doing for our environment, for Africa region that we are. Mind you, a lot of these first world countries, their climates are different. Their experiences are different. Their soil texture is different. The prevailing characteristics, the prevailing actors or factors in their country is different from what we have here. So if we want to progress honestly and holistically, we need to look inward as African. What is paramount? What do we need? What will make us better? What is best for our climate? What is best for our soil? What is best for our topography? What is best for the region that we find ourselves? You made some mention of something earlier about, how your actions affect. Yes, it's a cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal reaction, whether you are the direct beneficiary of it, or you're the secondary, or you're the tertiary beneficiary. There is, yes, it must hit you somewhere eventually, and there is someone that is benefiting from that, either positively or negatively. The fact that it doesn't come to you doesn't mean it is gone forever. No, it's not gone. Like we were taught in sciences, energy is not created nor destroyed. It's just transferred. Even matter just changed form. It changes state. So is the environment. So is everything in the environment. If you burn something, it turns to ashes, it evaporates, the smoke, it converts, it joins another cycle, it starts again. Flower falls to the ground, it dies, it decays, it joins another feeding cycle. Other plants eat, they grow. Oil spillage, if the environment cannot deal with it, it will be there. It will cause a nuisance. So whatever the environment cannot deal with will cause a nuisance until when the environment has adapted enough to handle that problem. So yes.
Amazing, really great. For me, the lessons I've seen for Africa is Africa is the world's only opportunity to show that sustainability is possible, right? Because we haven't gotten to the level of pollution that we're seeing in developed countries, right? So it's a framework where we can actually implement that principle of sustainability and show the world that it can be done and it works. So I see a great opportunity here for Africa to actually utilize these aspects of sustainability to building that narrative and authority for ourselves, right, as Africans. Seeing the impact, right, of activities, industrialization, and all of that in developed countries, it always makes us imagine or ask the question, what's the relationship between development and pollution, or development and destruction, right? So can it be possible that a nation can develop, right, and still not cause any harm to the environment? Because there's a relationship already existing in developed countries, that most developed countries are as a result of pollution, the activities they had to do. But Africa is still not developed because we haven't even caused enough pollution yet, but we shouldn't, right? We've seen people make that mistake. I think Africa needs to look from that lens and see the mistakes that have been made and begin to correct those mistakes and show them. We're supposed to be showing the developed world that it's possible to achieve sustainability. And that's, for me, is really one of the reasons that keep me passionate and, gives me the energy to show that sustainability can be possible, right? And sustainability can be an idea, a thought, right, for everyone, in every aspect. I'm sure even in more, as we have more and more conversations, we're going to even delve into other areas of, talking about sustainability really in depth. And that's what we want to achieve, through all of these conversations, engaging with you as well. So we would wrap it up here for this episode. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think about sustainability? Do you think it really matters now for us as young people, for the next generation? Why do we need to share this knowledge? Why do we need to start having these conversations? Do we really need to intensify them? We would like to hear your thoughts, and we're looking forward to having you next time. Thank you very much.